Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to call this meeting back to order. Thank you. We had committee meetings this morning. And coming back into the Executive Transition Committee. I had one thing I wanted to add before we hear from W Talent, who is joining us today. And I sent this out via email, but I just wanted to read it into the public record just to be helpful. So just want to highlight something that came up that a commissioner asked me about yesterday. So by way of background, members of the public and the board have publicly requested that the county engage an independent recruiting firm to perform the next administrator search. It's not really a secret. To this end, preparations for this process started weeks ago, and many hours have been invested into the process by administration, vice chair, and board chair. Preparations are carried out thoughtfully and intentionally with the best interests of the county in mind. This process that we're performing is extremely important to the county and to our citizens. Commissioner Rohde and I investigated, spoke with, and met with recruiting firms in West Michigan to discuss their processes, recruiting in general, and to see who might be available to serve Ottawa County. We were keenly interested in local firms, even though the county had chosen to use a Chicago firm in the past. The Executive Transition Committee was formed after the FY25 budget was done. And this was purposeful. It was done that way to allow board members, administration, fiscal, and really everyone to focus on the budget process without extra distractions. And I believe that was actually stated a few times in prior open meetings. W Talent Solutions emerged during this process as not only a reputable firm, but also local, focused on proven processes. And I'm really thankful that West Michigan has so much amazing talent available to benefit our citizens. W Talent is an elite recruiting team providing candidates in vital high-level roles across industries for organizations such as YMCA, Miller Knoll, Rockford Construction, etc. They do more than just search and place prospective employees. Their experienced recruiters use proven methods, analytics, and hands-on research to ensure their clients hire the right candidates at the right time. So I just want to put that in the record. And I'm really glad that we can hear from Ashley Ward today. And unless there's any other questions, we can pause. Otherwise, we'll welcome her virtually to the meeting.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing from Ashley.
Okay,
Great.
all right. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. And will it allow me to turn my video on or no?
It should.
It says I cannot yet.
Try now.
There we go. Thank
Okay.
you. Great to see everyone. I'm Ashley Ward with W Talent Solutions, and I'm going to share a slide deck today with our process and explain a little bit more about our assessment tools and how we operate, as well as our team structure. So, Joe, I also have Justin on my team as well on the call, as well as Matt Chapman. So I'd love to do introductions around your room, if you don't mind, just briefly, and then I can dive in.
Absolutely. Why don't we just start on the end over here with Commissioner Cosby and share whatever you'd like.
Good afternoon, Ashley. It's nice to meet you. My name is Gretchen Cosby, and I'm County Commissioner for District 1, which is all of Park Township, Port Sheldon Township, and then also Olive Township, at least until December.
Could you add a little background too? Just a little bit of your background?
My little bit of background, 30-year nurse. I've worked in a variety of different capacities as a nurse, from nursing on nursing units to management to directorship to education, and a variety of different capacities. So
Excellent. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Hi, Ashley. I'm Roger Belknap, represent District 9, which is Robinson Township, Grand Haven Township, and a small piece of Southeast Spring Lake Township. My background is 20 plus years in municipal public works and transportation. And as far as the commission's concerned, involved in a lot of the infrastructure related elements. I'm on the Parks Commission, chair of the groundwater board. So that's really kind of my interest, roads and bridges and water and sewer, that type of thing.
Excellent. Nice to meet you.
Good morning, Ashley and team. I'm Allison Miedema, County Commissioner from District 11, which is a lot of the northern part of our district. It covers Chester, Crockery, the city of Coopersville, Polkton, Talmadge, and Wright. And then my background is a master level early childhood teacher for 21 plus years before I ran for county commissioner 2 years prior to this. And so that's a little bit of my background. I currently serve as chair of talent and recruitment as well here at the county, and then serve on the Parks and Recreation, Ag, and several of the committees.
Excellent. Great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
We've talked briefly, but I'm Joe Moss, and my background is accounting and marketing. I've been in business for myself with some business partners for the last 15 or so years. We focus mostly on technology, systems, web apps, things like that, and have kind of a group of sister companies that work together. And so I work with clients in West Michigan, but also all across the country, and really enjoy it. And so looking forward to talking more today.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Rohde, and my background is I was a social worker for about 7 years, and I worked with children in foster care and special needs adoption. And then I had a small business out of my home for about a decade, working in photography and design. And then I got into parental rights advocacy on health freedom issues and school education issues. And then from there, during the COVID era, Joe and I started working together on some more political type issues. And that's kind of what led me to be here on the board. So I'm the vice chair of the board, and then I also the chair of the HHS committee. So nice
Okay.
to meet you.
You too. Thank you. Does that wrap the group?
It does. We also have Jack Jordan here. I'll just mention you, Jack. You're very mentionable. Jack is legal counsel. We have a couple others here and a couple in the audience, but yeah, that's
Okay.
the committee.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'll let Justin and Matt do brief introductions. They're members of my team here and executive search leaders who would help spearhead the search. And then I will take it away. Justin, you want to do a brief intro?
Sure. Thank you, Ashley. Nice to meet everybody on the committee and everyone else in attendance. As you mentioned, my name is Justin. New to the firm, 2 weeks as of tomorrow, but not new to recruiting by any means. Previous to W Talent Solutions, I spent about 5.5 years at another local talent agency doing mostly high-level executive recruiting in financial services with kind of a concentration in commercial banking, accounting and finance, and some other ancillary industries. That included the recruiting, account management, business development, and managing our entire commercial banking division there. But been local to West Michigan area my entire life. I live up in Mecosta County, but been working in Grand Rapids for about 12 years.
Thanks, Justin. Matt? Matt, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Nice to meet everyone today. My name is Matt Chapman. I'm also local to West Michigan, primarily on the southeast side of town. Similar to Justin, I've been in recruiting for the last several years with a focus on high-level searches in the banking industry. Have worked with a number of different clients across the country, and happy to work with organizations and other folks in West Michigan as well. So nice to meet everyone today.
Thank you, Matt. All right, I will share my screen here. Let's see. Yes, it is working. Okay. How's that look? Can you see the correct screen, Joe?
So we can see what looks to be presentation mode.
All right, swapping out. How's
That
that?
worked. Yep.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Ward. I am born and raised in Kent County. I live in Rockford with my family here, and we're also commercial real estate holders in downtown Grand Rapids. So I am very passionate about West Michigan and our area in general. So been here a long time and really ingrained in the community. I do serve on the City of Grand Rapids Board for the Downtown Improvement District, as well as the Wedgwood Christian Services Board as well. I chair their Advancement Committee, and then I'm also on the Fund Development Committee for the YWCA. My career background, I started in high volume sales recruiting for a freight and logistics company based out of Cincinnati. I helped them open about 20 offices across the US, recruiting their founding sales teams, and grew them to about $20 billion in revenue. And then from there, transitioned into third-party executive headhunting, which I loved and very passionate about. So found my niche there, working with a variety of industries and organizations, helping them secure key leadership positions for their companies. So fast forward, and about 8 years ago, decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur, start my own business. And so I started W Talent Solutions as a one-woman show and a handful of clients, and have organically scaled and built our team to be a multi-million-dollar firm with 13 employees currently on staff. Most of us are here in West Michigan. I do have one employee in Kalamazoo and then one in New York City, actually. So the bulk of us, our team is here, and our office is downtown Grand Rapids, in the office that I own. And we are a hybrid schedule, so partially in office, partially remote, which is really nice. And we're all very plugged in and very philanthropic in the community. So as a team, we actually volunteer once a month at the YWCA, and we've served over 600 volunteer hours since 2022 in the community. So very passionate about that part as well. So thank you for having me. I want to give a brief intro of W Talent Solutions, our philosophy, our process, wrap up with just more info on the team, and then I'll open it up to any questions. But please feel free to stop me at any time. It's more of a casual dialogue, if you will. So no problem there if you have any questions that come up spontaneously. So really our philosophy in general as a whole when it comes to recruiting, and I've had other experience at other firms that did not take a very holistic approach to recruiting. I believe that the whole person shows up to work. It's a very holistic approach and philosophy to what we do. We call it the head, heart, and briefcase model. So traditionally in talent acquisition and recruitment, a lot of firms and a lot of organizations are essentially just measuring the briefcase, which are things that change over time. It's things that are on their resumes, the interview process, things that you pick up through those things that just really measure the briefcase section. We believe, being the whole person showing up to work, that the head component, super critical for any given search, and that's going to be things like cognitive aptitude, emotional intelligence, things that are very stable over someone's lifetime and psychologically roped in by the time you're 35 is what they say scientifically. Doesn't change much after that. The heart component is going to be those values, the cultural alignment or the cultural add to the organization, as well as those key behaviors and motivators that are directly correlated to success in the workplace. So we measure the whole person throughout our process. So that's very important and really our differentiator in the marketplace. We use a variety of tools and evidence to do that. So one of the vendors we use is an assessment vendor called Predictive Index. Everyone on my team is trained and certified as partners of Predictive Index. So we all consult on these tools and are all trained to really know what these tools are measuring and how to administer them from an EEOC compliance perspective as well. The first component to Predictive Index is a behavioral assessment. This measures the top 4 drives of behaviors, again, directly correlated to success in the workplace and proven. The assessment itself is about 6 minutes to complete on average, but it is open choice also rather than forced choice, which I really enjoy about the tool. It's only 2 questions. So each question they have to select 86 adjectives, one to describe themselves and then one of how others would describe them. And so it's nice because it's also a feel-good tool for them to complete and they get their results right away on that tool. The second piece is a little trickier. It's the cognitive assessment. This one's timed at 12 minutes. It's 50 questions. Most people don't get through all 50 questions in the 12 minutes. It's things like logical, numerical, abstract reasoning, questions about patterns, fractions, things like that. And what it's measuring is our processing speed. So how quickly can someone catch up in the workplace? If you're familiar with IQ, which most of us are, and you think of a sponge, IQ would be the size of that sponge, where cognitive ability is how quickly can that sponge absorb new information really rapidly at quick rates over time. This really helps us find individuals that can keep up with the cognitive demands of this role, which is going to be super critical. It's actually the #1 predictor of success in the workplace. So we also pull in that assessment tool as well. Every single candidate you would see from us would have gone through these 2 tools before they're even presented to you. And our software of Predictive Index gives them candidate match scores to the target benchmarks that we would set together as a group so that it's EEOC compliant. We're not using our bias to decide what's the right profile type or the right cognitive aptitude score. We're mapping that all out very objective and evidence-based in the benchmark kickoff meeting for the job. There is a job target benchmarking process. So this is really what makes the process EEOC by setting targets up front. We would have any stakeholders or people on the hiring committee take this job survey on the front end prior to the kickoff call. The questions are really about the expectations and the demands of the role. It typically takes about 10 minutes to complete the survey. Each person takes it individually online. And then in the kickoff call, we come together and look at the results in the software so we can see if there's any discrepancies or, fits and gaps to what each of us on the hiring committee is looking for the role. We reconcile any of those differences so that we boil it down to the correct behavioral and cognitive targets for the role and the demands of the job prior to us going to market to find ideal candidates that would fit the benchmarks ideally. These are 2 examples of behavioral job targets in the gray boxes. So for a chief advancement officer in the gray boxes, you'll see we're looking for someone more independent, highly sociable, people-focused, more driving, fast-paced. They thrive under pressure, proactive, and then a bit more flexible. They can be undaunted by failure when hearing no over and over. And you have almost the mirror opposite for a sustainability officer, right? So you think of someone very collaborative, who is open and willing to hear the opinions around the room, someone a little bit more reserved. They don't need to be in the spotlight or limelight all the time. Someone more steady, patient, methodical, and then highly precise and detailed. Once we have a key candidate mapped on to each of these different targets, you'll see here, if the black dots are the candidate, that they would be a really ideal fit and close fit to the chief advancement officer from a behavioral perspective. And then probably would not like the sustainability officer role. They could probably show up and do the job, but they might not enjoy it and would probably lead to burnout over time. So we're really looking to place someone in a role that they can really optimize their natural talents, abilities, and behaviors and just show up just as they are to the workplace so that they don't have to stretch and adapt too much in their role. Of course, as humans, we're all capable of adaptations, but we want to really see if we can find someone with the behaviors to show up and do the job really well for long periods of time. On the back end of the process, we're using a scorecard model called Smart Hire Scorecard that I've created over time, really to help us with all of the criteria data points for that search. This is also wonderful because it's a very holistic approach to find the ideal candidate. It's not ruling a candidate out just based on one criteria item alone. And so let's say we're looking for 10 years experience, they only have 8 years experience. We're able to really holistically plug them into this scorecard to measure what matters most and not just rule them out based on one factor or data point alone. It's a very objective, evidence-based approach. It's standardized, so everyone on my team is going through the same process to uncover what we're looking for that given role. It keeps the same level of expectations and playing fields. I've worked at other firms that don't have anything objective in place. And so your expectations as a recruiter can be all over the board of what you're looking for. This really helps keeps all of us accountable for the search as well. It's also providing you a 360-degree view of the candidate before they even walk through your door, so you can decide who you want to interview holistically as well with evidence. This is what you would see from us with the head, heart, and briefcase outlined. This is the candidate profile sheet that goes on top of their candidate packet. It outlines, again, the match scores to both the cognitive and behavioral assessments. It's measuring or outlining their motivations. So I would say most of the candidates we're representing are gainfully employed, good at what they do, which is why you may want them on your team. So you want to know what their motivation is for being interested or even being willing to have a conversation. So we outline that here, as well as their culture fit. Their compensation will outline right out of the gate as well. So you have all that data to make a decision on who you'd like to bring in for interviews. Here's the process itself. So again, we host the job kickoff meeting where we're gaining that alignment and consensus on the role. We do have a compensation analysis tool we use as well for another objective approach to compensation benchmarking. We can help with any job descriptions if needed, and then we create the scorecard after our kickoff call. Then we go to market. I do have a dedicated sourcer researcher on my team who is pulling together an average of 300 candidates per search right now. And so we are really ingrained in the West Michigan market also, as well as the Midwest and nationally too, if we needed to look outside of West Michigan, but we do have that great pool of passive candidates built up. We do use a lot of technology. We're pretty tech forward and tech heavy in terms of our processes and what we do. So we go to market with the best tech tools to find and uncover the right people. All candidates complete the behavioral cognitive assessments, and then we run them through the Smart Hire scorecards to see who's going to be a close match to the role. Typically, we're presenting the top 5 to 10 candidates for any given executive search right now. We boil that down and help you get those through your interview process that we would define during the kickoff call as well. From there, we're narrowing it down to the top 1 or 2 candidates as a hiring committee. And then typically we'll run them through 2 additional assessment tools through a vendor called Thomas International. And those entail the emotional intelligence survey for the candidate to complete. It's about 20 minutes. It's measuring the top 15 traits of emotional intelligence, things like happiness, empathy, self-motivation, competitiveness, things that you would want to know and make sure you're validating what you heard in the interview process to be true. And then the other piece is a leadership assessment. So this one's measuring the top 6 drives of leadership as well. So they go through those 2 tools through Thomas International. We report on their results with you and have debrief sessions with yourselves and then also the candidates going through the process. From there, we conduct reference checks. It's 3 professional references. And then the compensation worksheet is something the candidate would fill out so that you have an outline of every single bell and whistle you would ever need to know to make an educated offer from an offer perspective. So we go through that process and ultimately help them put in their resignation in most cases and help get that start date set up. Here are some recent searches that we've conducted in the nonprofit and governmental spaces. And so, we do a lot of C-suite roles when it comes to nonprofit. And so we're very well versed and have the tools and capabilities to identify and uncover the right person. And then from a role function perspective, we are pretty broad. We help in different functional areas as well. And then from an EEOC and DEI perspective, we do have all of the things in place for EEOC compliance. We, again, have a lot of tech and tools to identify people in different markets. So we're leaving no stone uncovered or unturned, if you will, and constantly, looking at the tools that we can integrate to be able to do that fully. Lastly, a little bit more about our team. Again, I founded the company in 2017. We are 100% and certified woman-owned. We have over 750 executive level placements under our belts during W Talent Solutions tenure. Again, we're all certified in Predictive Index, and then the philanthropy piece is really big in what we do and really the mission of why I wanted to start a business. I've personally utilized a lot of nonprofits going through adversity in my childhood and young adult life, and those are the same nonprofits that we're volunteering at, and then I also give 10% of our profit back to those same nonprofits that have helped me in my life. So it's been full circle and just really enjoyable to see my team get involved. And I'll open it up to questions. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you. Anybody, feel free to ask away.
I have one.
Go for it.
All right. Hi, Ashley. This is Roger. Just a question with regard to I guess the talent pool, is there any advice or any differences if we have internal candidates versus external candidates in the process, or they kind of all go through the sort of same step process?
Yes, we would have them go through the same process, both internal and external candidates for EEOC compliance purposes. Good question.
Good question.
Hi, Ashley. This is Gretchen. Question for you. Do you track number of positions you've placed and then kind of their tenure in those positions, turnover rate or lack thereof? Do you look at any of those metrics?
We look at that for a period of 1 year, just because it's
1 year.
hard to track all of those. And we're at a 97% retention rate for the 1 year mark. Also from a candidate fill rate, when it comes to filling roles that go on our job board that we're working on, we're at a 72% fill rate, where the industry average right now is around 26%. And so we at 72 still is not perfect. We work hard every day to get that. And there's a lot of variables outside of our control of why we don't fill searches, but we have a very high fill rate as well in the industry.
You have a high score in competition, don't you? for your
Yeah.
testing. Yes. Yep. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Ashley, this is Allison. Thank you for your presentation. What interests you in partnering with the county, and do you feel equipped to take us on?
Absolutely, I do. Well, Joe and I have had a great conversation previously as well. And so I got to learn a lot more about the values and the integrity and the history of Ottawa County. And I do resonate a lot personally. And then also, obviously, owning this business, it helps the business extension being able to really stand behind Ottawa County. And what you do, I think, is important from your perspective and your stance to find a partner. And so I felt very strongly about that, and that we're able to also bring an evidenced approach to this process for you. And so I do feel like we're equipped, we have the bandwidth to take this on, and we're also excited to potentially take this on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, can you share with us a little bit, if we partnered with you, what is your communication style as it relates to working with us, as well as it would relate to with your work in recruiting with those that are choosing to apply?
Yes, absolutely. Well, from a client perspective, we would host weekly meeting sessions just for market analysis updates and candidate updates. So typically those are a half hour for most of our clients. And we find that cadence from a communication perspective to, I think, be thorough on both ends of the spectrum. And then from there, we're presenting candidates typically within 2 batches, I would say, because we're moving candidates through the process at different cadences and times as they're applying in or as we're finding and identifying them. And so you might see 2 different batches of candidates, one with maybe 3 or 4 candidates in it, and the other one with 3 to 4 candidates, if not the final group of maybe 5 or 6. And so that's typically our cadence process. And then when it comes to candidate communication, we are very good and very proactive when it comes to not only moving candidates through the process quickly, and so we do ask for quick communication from our clients as well. We say within 48 hours of feedback from interviews, just for brand protection, not only for Ottawa County, but for us as well, so that the candidate walks away, even if they're not the right fit, with a positive experience and positive taste in their mouth. We also are well known for positive candidate declines. So that's something we really train hard on at our firm here. Again, for brand protection, as we want to make sure the candidate experience is wonderful for them as well, even if they are declined in the process.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How many staff would be, if we would go through and that we both want to proceed, how many staff would be available to us as a county?
3 are dedicated, to the search. And that includes a client relationship manager who's also a recruiter. There is a dedicated recruiter, and then a dedicated sourcer researcher.
have to say what I did like is that you have a resignation process built in for the selected employee too. That helps with any lag that might be, any problems that we might encounter after hire.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you.
Ashley, this is Roger again. In some of our draft recruitment profiles for the county administrator role with the committee, we did kind of define some of these areas that, we're going to kind of rely on the recruitment firm to help us with. And right now that includes, establishing the mandatory requirements as well as the desirable characteristics and compensation and benefits. From the presentation, I realize there's a lot of knowledge and advice that you guys can bring to the table. Can you kind of speak to these three elements as far as, what we're expected to, bring to this and how you can kind of shore that all up in regard to our final recruitment profile?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. We do have a 3-page template to create the job profile. So we would walk you through that in addition to what you would hand us that you already have in place. We could fill out some of our templates using that information and data, but then we would ask great questions in the kickoff search to be able to gain and glean all of the insights we would need to go to market for the search. And that also includes us running compensation analysis reports through our compensation tool that we use. As well as, again, benchmarking the both behavioral and cognitive traits for the role. So all of that goes into the job profiling process.
Do you know, is there any element of that kind of pulls from, I guess, from people within the organization, the commissioners and maybe various leaders, department heads, that type of thing? Like, is there kind of a built-in opportunity for, I guess, existing leadership within Ottawa County to kind of help with that?
Certainly, yes. We're happy to do brief interviews with each leader or stakeholder as well who would report into this role. And then for the job assessment surveys through Predictive Index, you would decide which key stakeholders you would want involved as a data point to complete that 10-minute job survey. And so those go into the process from a data point perspective so that we can holistically look at the behavioral and cognitive demands of the job per person. And so it breaks it down per person first, and then we come together as a group and we reconcile any differences we might have to lock in the targets.
Thank you.
Just for clarity, Ashley, this is Allison. Are you suggesting that 10-minute job survey would be conducted solely by this 5-member committee, or it's available to have other potential stakeholders also take it?
It
Up
is
to our-
available, yes, for other stakeholders to take it. My recommendation typically is that there are not over 5 stakeholders in the room when we set the targets, just for sake of communication and making sure that we can gain the consensus within one meeting. But if you did want to open that up and have others involved, they can take the job survey and we would see that as a group at the kickoff call and their data points that they came up with. So it's up to you if you would want them involved on the kickoff call or not.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Actually really like that idea of, having stakeholders outside of this group even define like what qualities and characteristics of an ideal county administrator, that they would be looking for as we fill this role.
Ashley, this is Sylvia. I just have a couple questions. I am curious about your whole person approach, and I really love that because I agree that the whole person does show up to work. So just curious, what led you to begin to integrate that into your practice, and how have you seen that make a difference?
Thank you for asking. I've come from other recruiting firms that did not take that approach, and I felt that there was something missing, which is one of the reasons I wanted to start my own firm. My background's in psychology, and so I'm just really big into the fact that I do believe the whole person is always present. We are complex, holistic beings. And so I figured if we're just measuring what's on their resume and just a series of interview questions, I don't think we're hitting the nail on the head and getting to see the full person and how they may show up to work. And I feel like pulling in the other data points really helps from a predictability perspective and really getting to know what the expectations of the leadership team or the stakeholders are, not just from a skill set perspective, but the soft skills and the behaviors and the cognitive complexities of the role, as well as values alignment too. That's very important. And I felt that processes I've seen in the past or that I know my competitors to use don't capture or measure those things. I also am a very intuitive, subjective person by nature, and I live in shades of gray. From a recruiting perspective, I was really good at recruiting in the beginning of my career because I would have this intuition. And hiring people on my team as recruiters, I can't teach or replicate my intuition. So I really had to challenge myself of how to get my intuition out on paper. And so that's how I created the Smart Hire Scorecard model, to be able to capture those things holistically and have a measurable way to replicate what I'm thinking, my intuition, what I was feeling. So I feel like our process really captures all of those things. And we've seen a ton of success in the work that we do and have great success rates compared to competitors for that reason.
Great. So when you are initially figuring out what is needed, then you're gathering information from the employees and the leadership as well, as far as what works with them. Is that true?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yep. We have a series of questions that are standardized that we would ask during our kickoff call, and then we're happy to do interviews with other stakeholders on the team too, to get their feedback and their data points.
Okay, thank you.
Ashley, do you see returning clients?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Lots. Yeah,
Good question.
it is.
Ashley, this is Roger again. Can you maybe speak to an example of one of your most challenging recruitments and filling a unique position that stands out because kind of a memorable thing?
It's a good
What was the
question.
biggest challenge, I should say?
Oh, there's so many. They're all different and so unique, and they all come with their own complexities. And that's why they hire a firm, right? To go headhunt exactly what they're looking for. Probably this is the one that popped in my mind. So I don't know how relevant it is, but I was filling a CFO role who had to be bilingual. And so it's for locally here in West Michigan for an organization that had a series of different holdings companies that were predominantly Hispanic culture. So for me, getting creative in West Michigan, of course, the population is rather small that would check all the boxes for a CFO level, unfortunately. And so we really had to do our diligence and uncover every stone to be able to find that person. And it was difficult. It was challenging, but fun. We enjoy those challenges, and I think that's what makes our job exciting. I also hire a specific behavioral profile type on my team because I find that third-party recruitment is, headhunting is definitely detective work. It's challenging, so I need someone to thrive in complex environments myself. And then very proactive, very fast pace is predominantly people behaviorally wired on my team. And so those challenging searches actually excite us the most.
Ashley, what have you noticed? I think you're a nationwide search, right? You have the capacity.
Yeah.
But what have you found in your years doing this? Is it pretty all over where people are hiring in from across different states? Or are you finding that the hires tend to be more local and centralized to who you are working for that client?
Great question. Yes, about 60% of our client base is headquartered in West Michigan, with still maybe sites outside of Michigan. And then 40% of our client population are within other major metros across the US. And typically West Michigan is also a complex environment to pull candidates from or for. We oftentimes don't see a lot of success with relocating candidates outside of the area, at least outside of the vast area, an hour or so range within West Michigan. But So we do focus and really try to drill in here locally before we would go outside of that market. Other markets, are a little bit different, where you have a bit more different types of communities, or I think of like Denver, where you have a lot of people coming in there just naturally, and that's a bit of a different environment to recruit for than West Michigan. So I agree with your decision to try to find a local firm because it is such a unique construct to who we are. And so understanding that, and everyone on my team understanding that, I think will be really important.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Any other questions? I think
Yeah.
the only comment, my comments would be, I really appreciate the whole person approach. I appreciate that an outside firm like W Talent has a strong understanding of the compliance factors. But the three things I like the best are that, the local presence. I think it is critical. But then I love to hear the experience. It's really neat, and seeing some of the stats that we got to see. But I guess I'll just say, what I'm most excited about is, Ashley, I can tell that you are very serious. So that means a lot.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
I think my only other question would be is your availability and time frame, and would your team be ready to begin working with us immediately?
Absolutely. We do have the bandwidth and capacity to do that, and could even host the kickoff meeting this week. So very flexible this week to do that as well.
It's great to hear.
All right. Any other questions? We'll say thank you very much, Ashley. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for
and-
allowing us to join you.
Yep. And thanks, Justin. Thanks, Matt. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet everybody. Have a
Nice
good
to
day.
meet you.
Thank you all.
Yep, thanks. All right. That was interesting. Any additional feedback or thoughts?
I think even taking from the meeting earlier today with one of our public comments, I mean, having somebody from West Michigan or an organization from West Michigan is very important
Yeah.
because they do know the dynamics of what's been going on here in West Michigan, Ottawa County area.
Mm.
And so she's coming in open-eyed,
Mm.
and so is her organization.
Yeah.
And willing to serve.
Yeah, I appreciate those things a lot. And West Michigan is a very unique place. And yeah, I'm sure there are some challenges, but housing is a challenge. Other issues really truly exist. I like that she was very real with market factors.
Mhm.
We are dealing with market realities in West Michigan. And I know you can go outside West Michigan and find a recruiting firm from Chicago or some other place, and they might seem like a big name or whatever. But I'm not interested in that at all. I want someone who is born and raised, people who are from the community, who know the community. And that's what I hear from Ashley and Justin and Matt. I like that a lot.
I think something that I really appreciated, which was already mentioned here by a couple of you, was the holistic approach. And I think that's something that has been communicated to several of us over the last couple of years from staff and from the community, making sure that we have someone that has the head, the heart, and the briefcase. So maybe not used in those words this last couple of years, but now we could refer to it that way.
Right, right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hugely important to me, based on, the feedback that we've gotten. So I really appreciate that.
Well, at the 72% placement rate, that's compared to 26 as an average, I'd say they are definitely, they're setting the benchmark for people. And she's still competitive and moving towards a higher score.
Yeah.
And 97% retention in the first year is significant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To raise her.
That's why I say, like, they are serious. Not everybody demonstrates the same level of seriousness.
And I think that, that 97% is due to the holistic,
Process.
the holistic process that they have in place and all the measurement tools. So.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I had written down is they focus on measurement. And that's something that we as a board have talked a lot about in the last year and a half, is measuring, is data. And they really seem to have, that part in their process. And from where we sit, we're just facilitating this process as a hiring committee, as an executive transition team, and trying to do it in an open and transparent manner and bringing in, an independent third party who is an expert at this, so that the process does not just fall on our shoulders. Like, yes, we have to carry it forward, but, we need someone like, Ashley's firm that can perform the very complex pieces of the task. So, and that's personally for me, that's what I'm looking for.
I also appreciate the availability, right? And the eagerness, I think taking it serious. I appreciated all the extra information that was shared with us on the screen, actually showing how each step goes. So.
Good for the public too, just to be able to see that kind of thing.
How best can we, so I know Allison, I believe you'd mentioned this yesterday in your comment, Gretchen, today too, about those voices of stakeholder that would have kind of an influence in this process beyond this committee. Sounds like they're willing to work with whoever we define that to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that from what I'm hearing, the recruiter is willing to basically work with anybody. And even though, the direct back and forth with the hiring committee, if you will, is with this group, we could ask other people to either submit surveys or do the interview, like those little, what did she call them, miniature interviews? I really,
The job
Survey.
yeah. And I think she said she might meet with a few people too.
She was willing to
But-
do brief interviews with other stakeholders that we would deem.
Yeah, even if that was, just set up where she comes in, and just sits down with a few people that we, really want her to, I think that would be great. Because it'll give her more of the heartbeat of what's going on here and what employees are like and what they're looking for, things like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because even our interim county administrator right now might be able to point us to, people that he interacts with at different levels of the organization or of the county as well.
Yes.
To
And
help
that's,
out with that selection process.
yes, and that's the day-to-day, yeah,
Mhm.
which, to be honest, we're not here for the day-to-day. Yeah, so there needs to be a reliance on that. So I'm glad you keep bringing that up, Commissioner Belknap. It's very good. And it sounds like they do that regularly because she answered pretty quick. Yeah. Well, does that mean we've come to some kind of consensus, or what would the committee like to do?
I'd like to make I guess, motion that we continue pursuit of working with W Talent Solutions.
Hmm.
And I guess if it's a proposal that they give to us, maybe they have that already established.
I have a motion I could share if you'd
Okay.
like to adopt it.
Let's hear
So
what you got.
it would be suggested to select W Talent Solutions to provide executive recruiting services for the position of county administrator.
So moved.
Second.
Any continued discussion? I guess my one thought is I find the concept of measuring people very fascinating. Because that's what she's
You
talking
thought
about.
about that sponge, didn't you?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, that's what she's talking about doing.
It's a visualization.
It was
Yeah.
really good.
Mhm.
Like, oh,
How
boy.
quickly can you take up information and apply it?
Oh, yes, I kept thinking about that.
Maybe she'll let you take one.
I was thinking about asking. I was a little scared to take it. But I like that she repeated over and over, objective and evidence-based. And I believe that's what this committee is incumbent to do. I think that's what the board as a whole wants. I think that's what the county, staff would like, and follow the process.
Well, and I think it's important too, she'd mentioned, that they're deliberate about trying to work through, things that may be a bias,
Mhm.
right? I know we've all at different times have applied for things and, I don't know if any of you have tried out for sports teams too, but when you're the slowest runner, you're not the tallest, but maybe you make that great throw from third base to first base, those things. I appreciate that it is a wider bandwidth of bringing in what this person's capable of, because there's a lot of things that we can't see, that hopefully the process will pick up, that we're not removing people from, that pool.
Well, and I really appreciated, did you notice how she said at one point, she developed the smart hire structure so that if there was one element that may look like a disqualifier, that it's not just, erroneously taken as that, but that the whole person is looked at. And it's kind of goes to with what you're saying. Yeah.
I like our business model because even those who are in, it's like they've passed the criteria in order to interview, and the deselected, I think, is the term that she used.
Oh,
They work with as
declines? Is that
well.
what it
Yeah, so
was?
it keeps you, it keeps your pool active.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very smart.
it is smart.
Well, it kind of goes without saying, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I really appreciate you mentioned it at the beginning of our coming back from recess from yesterday, today, all the work that was already put into this over the last couple months. There was a lot of homework done by a couple of you, and I appreciate that because we are able to get to this point and really have some great discussion because of the homework that's been done already. So just thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, one last comment I have is the administrator role is very fiscally oriented. And it sounds like, obviously some of the people who are on her team are, accounting, finance, banking, fiscal background, budget background. And so just them being local is great, and them having experience in an awesome process is great, but then them being from those backgrounds too just builds into what we need in particular.
Especially as we've, seen the need over the last 2 years for process and for metrics to be integrated into the county operations.
Yep. Okay.
You had a motion? You
Anything
had a
else?
second, right?
Second that way.
Go Sylvia. Okay, we'll go to the clerk for a vote.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema. Yes. And Mr. Moss.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Right. Another item that I had just to go back to was the job posting, the job description. I understand either recruiting firm will assist with some of that. I just want to call attention to some of the updates. I know you probably already looked at some of it. And I won't go through it line by line, but just that the comments from yesterday were updated. And then a few other items added just to kind of build it out a little bit, maybe get it ready or a little closer to being ready. And that's all we have for now, but is there anything else that anyone else would like to discuss or add?
I would just, I think reading a couple of these into it, because I don't think it was part of the packet.
We could.
It would be nice to kind of read those out loud. I think they were I think the additions were great. I especially appreciate some of the stuff you put about interpersonal related skills on the backside.
You want me to read through some?
That would be great.
Okay.
Yep.
So this just comes from feedback, both from the meeting and then some discussion afterwards, and, you know, just trying to take it very seriously. So added into the description, performs executive management level leadership in directing the overall management of the county government to provide mandated services to the citizens of Ottawa County, upholds the United States Constitution to preserve and protect the individual rights of the citizens in essential job functions. The county administrator serves as an official representative on a variety of boards. The county administrator is responsible for the development of labor agreements and relations, albeit through HR, but ultimately responsible. And I thought that would be good to add in there specifically, at least I think, because the county does have, you know, unions. We even heard about some of them this morning. The county administrator analyzes and recommends improvements to existing services and operating systems of the county. Let's see. That other line, they're willing to respond to emergency situations during normal working and off-duty hours. I know that is a given, but I thought some of the feedback I got is, you know, that should be written because it is extremely important for a county administrator to be highly available. Yeah. The county administrator position requires the ability to communicate effectively, both orally and in writing related to county functions. County administrator position requires the ability to establish and maintain working relationships with staff, elected officials, outside representatives, and the general public. I kind of think about local units and townships in that one, increasing collaboration. County administrator position requires the ability to formulate, recommend, review, and implement budget, policy, and procedure. Very standard. The county administrator position requires understanding of the Declaration of Independence, United States Constitution, and civics. And that was all of the major changes there. But,
Mhm.
mhm.
I appreciate those. I feel like it really rounded it out to what was needed.
Yeah. Yep. Part of this process is just spending the time to go through the detail and the hours that it takes to just, you know, research, look at what other counties are doing, see where there are either similarities or trends or things like that, or, you know, not everybody thinks of the same exact things. So. Anything else for today, or I guess we could recess because we are probably going to pick this back up.
I
Unless-
do have a question. So on this, is this something that we need to vote on as a board or, you know, as this committee, or do we need to take it first through the firm for assistance and then vote on it? Or do we need to not formally do that?
This committee was delegated the authority to select the firm. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm talking about something different as far as this job posting.
This committee was, oh, okay. So the committee was tasked to also finalize the job posting, which it seems like we can get direct feedback from W Talent.
First, before we post it? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I would do
Okay.
personally. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with where this is at, but at the same time, they are the experts, so.
Right. So if you want to hold off on that, we definitely could. I think historically, there's been, you know, both this job posting, plus the recruitment profile is posted with it. So,
Or at least referenced, maybe.
it's,
yeah.
there's a link.
Yeah.
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 So, you know, I'm comfortable with holding off for a bit if you want, or approving it.
Well, and I could forward it and ask for feedback too.
Yes. Mhm.
It's pretty well-rounded at this point, but maybe there's a couple items that are standard that are missed or something.
Okay.
Go to the expert.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd like to lean on them a little bit with regard to, some of the executive positions and, they can read through this, give
Yeah.
them maybe some advice.
Or even if they want to clean it up a little bit, it's
No,
fine
they
with me.
will. They'll fit it into their template, I'm certain.
Right.
So
Even better,
they ask you for more information.
even
So-
better. Yep.
And then if we need to
Okay.
bring it back to take a look at, we can.
Yep.
Right.
So I guess maybe another question then that I would have is, I guess we'll figure out when we will meet again.
Yeah, I will, I'll connect with W Talent, ask when they're available, and then send an email to the committee.
All right, sounds good.
All right, last call, or motion to recess until, meeting with W Talent.
So we're going to continue this meeting? We're not going to
I,
adjourn it? Okay.
I think that would be the easiest thing to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, we could always close it out, adjourn and schedule another one, but I don't think we have to.
Following.
I was just thinking if you recessed, is there, for some reason that she was available, I don't know when she's gonna be available and when we are. When we post different things, does that change the timing of when things get posted? Whether or not you close out a meeting or you continue?
I don't think so. Nope. I guess I
Have any-
formally need a motion.
I'm looking
a
at Nick
motion
to see what
to
yeah,
recess.
recommendations might be in that regard. Do you have recommendations?
On whether to recess or,
Recess or adjourn?
I think if you recess, it gives you more flexibility for the next meeting.
Okay.
That's my off the top
Nope,
of the
I appreciate it.
head
Yep.
comment.
Okay. Motion to recess until we meet with W Talent.
So moved.
Second?
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried and we'll recess. Thank you.